Good afternoon. My name is Michael Guzman, and I'm here to present the idea and presentation of gender communication introductions. Overview and synopsis. Of course, we know that certain sexual orientations can be endorsed and addressed differently over time. As we see in history, through the 60s up till now, feminists and the idea of gender and gender communication is very different in how it changed us. And a positive outcome, of course. Of course, analysts could see likewise how individuals of various sexual orientations have been addressed. The fundamental distinction is significant, yet you must know something different about these two arrangement terms as we go on. For example, how society functions with gender, and how each basic fundamental understanding of gender communications will be used and primarily affected and be used on society. Basic interplay of sex and gender. Of course, sexual life systems that does not fit common meanings of male or females can be distant from each other. Of course, we know the biological sense of the chromosomes of the male and female, double X and XY. And now we know that there are only two genders. Intersex is a general term utilized from an assortment of conditions where an individual can be brought up to the world or can be against sexual life systems that doesn't appear to fit their common meanings of male or female. Okay. According to an article from Ken E. Menzel on gender perceived earning, 256 college students learn from a professor of the same sex, meaning people can portray and learn subjects differently regardless or based on a certain gender. Certain types of feminism. Of course, feminism plays an important role in society and gender communication. And as we see, there are numerous types of feminism. Some are bad, some are good. As such, liberal feminism is the most widely known, recognized type of feminism. Association with the Public Women's Association, as known as NOW. These are the most type of known liberal feminists you see on perhaps national news, TV, or articles. Radical feminism also outgrowing uneasiness with their treatment of law. Portraying their left political developments and ideologies during the 60s, and now numerous women started resolving the issue of persecution, even till now, regarding their ideas and how they portray their rights. Of course, you have socialist feminism, broadening communist women's ideas, how their activism may portray negative effects on certain people. And women activists accept that women are neglected in the workhouse and are always, presumably, being treated as sexist or as sex objects, even as abuses of domestic violence. Men's movements in gender communication. Of course, men develop differently and change in their objectives and ways of thinking. And this is basic. Of course, men and women will think differently due to the biological standards and fundamental way of thinking. Men's developments are solid allies of women's activist situations, while others oppose women's activist developments, looking back at their sex roles, such as men feminists. And there are some, and they include pro-feminist men, free men, mytho-poetic men, and promise keepers. Of course, it says here, pro-feminist men are mostly aligned with the liberal feminist position, as today. For instance, according to a political gender passage on CNN that was posted on September 13, 2018, paralanguage is the non-lexical component speaking for men, such as voicing their opinions and attributes to a societal group with feminists. Theories of gender development. Explain the theories. Of course, there are numerous theories that I even learned myself in high school, such as the psychodynamic theory, symbolic intellectualism, social learning, and cognitive learning. These are the basic core fundamentals of gender and how they're believed to be taught by educators and guardians. They also suggest that gender identifies roles are acquired during the third stage, which can be implemented as the psychodynamic theory. Of course, cognitive learning is mainly the important theory of gender development as it portrays per mental formative hypothesis orientation. Character is hypothesized as the essential coordinator and controller of children on orientation of learning. Why study gender communication? Of course, gender communication educates us on our culture and our societal norms that we may portray, and how it may influence our colleagues in work, in our coworkers, and our basic school grounds in education. It can also help both male and female salespeople correlate and know each other's perspectives and opinions. Gender and interpersonal communication. Of course, there are communicative differences between men and women. It is known for. Media attention also plays a significant role, such as news outlets, movies, social media, how men and women can be treated differently, and they show likewise. For instance, according to Fox News article that was published from Ohio State University, studies show that women are sensitive to interpersonal meanings and feelings than a man, which could be a stereotype. However, proven by statistics, couples regarding themselves apart from gender can portray or hide their feelings from each other, interpersonal wise. Differences in gender communication. Language impacts insufficient statistics and builds our world in a crucial way, negatively or positively, to utilize languages to reflect non-sexist mentalities, such as the generic he, sex stereotypes, and women being idolized as sex objects. Defining men and women, the second manner by which language is one-sided against the female is how characterizing woman is utilized, such as the differences between the male and female in gender communication. Patterns of talk. Patterns of talk describes a phonological difference in overall female-male speech. Because growing up, men and women can feel isolated in many cases, limiting them to socialize exclusively from the people of their own orientation. For various sexes, we foster various examples and a talkative view of assumptions that are put upon an individual. For example, according to Simply Psychology, talk stereotypes are known to be one of these solutions and conflicts. Masculine and feminine speech. Of course, from this graph from CNN, portrays the differences between feminine and masculine speech communities, such as a masculine speech community, it shows that their goal is to be more independent, exhibit more knowledge, and be abstract, as well as perform instrumental tasks. As for the feminine speech community, their goal is to portray more connections, have equity, of course, equality of in itself, and portray more maintenance work. And regardless of sexism and gender, it's just statistically how each speech is proven differently apart from each other. In summary, in conclusion, research and studies educate society on gender communication in a positive outcome, but some in negative outcomes. Of course, reorientation correspondence is the social development of manliness, masculinity, as it lines up with the line sex upon entering the world in a particular culture and time frame. Orientation correspondence concentrate for the most part in advance the ability that distinctions in orientated correspondence are socially educated and are along these lines liquid and dynamic. That was my presentation on the fundamentals of gender communication. Here are my sources and references. Thank you and have a good afternoon.